So coming back students once again. So while counting the value of goods and services, it is clear that we need to calculate only the value of final goods and services. Why? Because it will avoid double counting. It will avoid double counting. Example, I told you, when you are purchasing a biscuit packet of worth 15 rupees, it includes the value of the wheat flour and also the wheat cost. So no need to add the wheat cost and flour cost once again in the biscuit packet. It will be double counting and the value will be increased. Okay, next. Similarly, the value of final goods and services produced in each sector. I mean primary sector, how many final goods and services value in a primary sector? Okay, the value of final goods and services you have taken. Second sector, the value of final goods and services you have taken. And tertiary sector also we have taken the value of final goods and services. So the value of final goods and services produced in each sector, I mean primary, secondary, tertiary, during a particular year, I mean say for example 2020, 2021, whatever it may be, particular year provides a total production in the sector of that year. I repeat, the value of final goods and services produced in each sector. Take for example primary sector. So in that primary sector, what is the total value of that final goods and services produced? We have already calculated in that particular year. Similarly, second sector. In that sector, what is the total value of goods and services produced in that year? In that sector. Similarly, in tertiary sector. So we can easily get one idea that how much value of goods and services are produced in each sector. Now, similarly, if we add all the values of all the three sectors, then it will become what? Total production in the country during that particular year. It will give an idea that what was the total production of goods and services in the country during a year, or what is the total value of all the final goods and services that are produced in a given year. That idea you will get if you add all the three sectors value. And that is simply nothing but called national income. What is national income? The total value of all the final goods and services that are produced in a country during a year is called national income. Or simply the total income of the country is called national income. Or the incomes of all the individuals in a country during a year is also called national income. Same. So the total value of all the final goods and services that are produced in a country during a year is also called national income. Okay. Next. And the sum, I told you, individual sector we have taken the value of final goods services, primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, and when we add all the three sectors, it will give the picture of what? The total value of final goods and services. That is nothing but national income or GDP, gross domestic product. Okay, GDP. It is the value of final goods and services that are produced within the country. GDP includes only within the country. I mean, what are the goods and what are the services which are produced and their value. So the total value of all the final goods and services that are produced within the country during a given year is called GDP. In this GDP, we will not add any value that we receive from other countries. Suppose we are exporting some goods and we are receiving some income from other countries, that will not be added. Suppose you are getting some grants and aids, some help, or suppose you are taking a loan from the World Bank, that value will not be added in this one. So in GDP, it includes only domestic. No income, no value which you are received from outside will be added in GDP. If you add in GDP, that one value from, if you add in GDP, whatever value we are receiving from other countries, that will become GNP then. It will become GNP. There is a difference between GNP and GDP. GDP means only the total value of goods and services that are produced in the country, whereas GNP means what? The total value within the country plus the value which you are receiving from other countries. Suppose you are receiving some loans from World Bank, IMF. Suppose you are given some aid and help from other countries, some donations from other countries. If you add that one also in the GDP, then it will become GNP. Okay, fine. In India, the mammoth task of, very difficult task of measuring GDP is undertaken by central government ministry. Who will calculate, who will measure? Very important question. Who will calculate, who will measure the calculation of GDP of our country India? Central government authority. It is the central government ministry, not authority, central government ministry central government ministry. It is central government ministry that is calculating the GDP in our country India. This ministry, with the help of various government departments, this ministry, central government ministry, with the help of some other departments, okay, of all Indian states and union territories, collect information relating to total volume of goods and services and their prices, and then they will estimate the GDP. Now next topic, historical change in sectors. Historical change in sectors. Actually, beta, here primary, secondary, tertiary, all the three sectors are there. Long back, in primary sector, more people are engaged, more output was coming from that sector. As time passed, what? The secondary sector and tertiary sectors both developed. Now, the people who are working in primary sector, their number is decreasing, and the people who are working in secondary and tertiary, their numbers are increasing. The output which contributed to primary sector earlier was more. Today, the output of primary sector is decreasing, and the output which is generated by secondary and tertiary is been increasing. So there is a lot of change. I mean, there is a sectoral change. There is a sectoral change between primary, secondary, and tertiary. See, generally it has been noted from the histories of many now developed countries that are initial stages of development. Primary was the most important sector of economic activity. That means in any country, if primary sector is dominating, that indicates that country is what? Backward or underdeveloped. Whereas in those countries where second and tertiary sectors are dominating, more output, more production is coming from that sectors. That means that country is what? Developed country or modernized country. So in any country, if primary sector is dominating more, engaged more, or more people are working, more output is coming, that means that country is backward or less developed or underdeveloped. And those countries where more output, more production, more contribution to GDP is coming from second and tertiary sectors, that countries are developed. Fine. As the methods of farming changed, today the methods of farming changed and agriculture sector became prosperous nowadays. It produced much more food than before. Okay, many people could now take up other activities along with agriculture. No doubt agriculture was there. Agriculture is the main activity of the people of India. Chief economic activity, primary activity, backbone of Indian economy, we said earlier. But now people are taking some other activities other than agriculture, second and tertiary activities. There were increasing number of craft persons and traders nowadays. Buying and selling activities increased in many countries. Okay. Besides, there was also what? Transporters carrying the goods. Administrators are there. Army people are there. However, this stage, most of the goods produced were natural products from the primary sector, and most people were also enjoyed in this sector. But over a long period of time, there was a change. There is a sectoral change. Change in output, change in production of goods and services, contribution to GDP, there is a change. Over a long period of time, more than 100 years, I can say, and especially because new methods of manufacturing were introduced, factories come up and started expanding. Those people who had earlier worked in farms now began to work in factories in large numbers. People began to use many more goods that were produced in factories. Factories at cheaper rates. Secondary sector, secondary sector, gradually became the most important in the total production employment. Earlier, primary sector was dominating in production employment. Earlier, primary sector is dominating in both production and employment. But today, the case is secondary sector. In secondary sector, more production and more employment is there. Hence, over time, there is a shift from primary to secondary. A shift had taken place. This means that the importance of sectors are being changed. In the past 100 years, if you see the past 100 years, there has been a further shift from secondary to tertiary sectors. First, the shift from primary to secondary sector. Now from secondary to tertiary sector, again there was a shift. But where in developed countries, this shift was seen mostly in developed countries. The service sector has become the most important in terms of total production. Most of the working people are also employed in the employed in service sector. Today, more and more people are employed in service sector. More production is coming from service sector today. especially in developed countries. This is a general pattern observed in developed countries. What is the total production and employment in the three sectors in India? Let us see how much production is coming from each sector and how many people are engaged in each sector. Over the years, there have been changes similar to the pattern of observed in developed countries. I mean, the way in which developed countries have changed the pattern from primary to secondary, secondary to tertiary, same observation is there on India also, in India also. We shall see in the next section, that is given here. Next topic, it is given. So we will read that one tomorrow in live classes. So today I am stopping here only. So hope you have understood this one, and I suggest my students to once again read the textbook, go through the textbook once again line to line, so you can understand the concept in a better manner. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.